Freedom Fighters, coming at you with another episode of Truck Talk. Well, today we're going to be talking about, the recent events that happened in Georgia at the Apalachee High School. We're going to dissect kind of what happened there and some different things I've been hearing people talk about. If you don't know what I'm talking about, the kid who went into the school and had another event that we really can't talk about here on the tube. So, I kind of have to talk around it. But if you don't know, look it up. I'm sure you can figure it out. But, Freedom Inc. did a video on this, and I was talking about, how I wanted to talk about it, before in other situations like this. But, in this case, there's some special circumstances. The kid was 14 years old, and they're charging him as an adult. And that was one of the things, one of the points Freedom Inc. touched on. He didn't really agree with how the justice system, picks and chooses, when people are adults or when they're not. His point of view is you either are or you aren't, which, I kind of agree with certain points. I've seen cases where certain kids do things and, it's pretty bad, and they're just they get, basically probation or ankle monitors, or they'll do, a year or two in JDC, but then they basically get out as an adult. But then, you got all kinds of weird stuff with ages. I've seen cases where I think it was a military guy or something that got kicked out of the service or something like that because he was drinking. And it's you know how absurd that is? And people have been saying that forever. You're an adult, yet you can't have a drink till you're 21. What sense is that? What's the point of being an adult when you can make all the other adult decisions, right? You can buy a home, you can, you sign for yourself, you're your own person, but you can't, go buy a drink. But they can also put a weapon in your hand and send you off to war. All kinds of stuff. And then, I saw another thing on Sneako's channel, or I don't know if you guys even know who that is. I don't even really watch his channel. I don't even think I'm subscribed. I just see a lot of his stuff always pop up on my Twitter, I think because I watch Nick a lot. But he had this thing where he was talking to some girl or something, and she ended up being underage, and everyone was oh man, I always knew Sneako was a P word. And someone posted a great meme under there that was the SVU Law and Order guy. And it had him saying, she was 17 years old and 11 months and 29 days, 23 hours, in 59 minutes, you sick fuck. And, I was laughing at that because, people were going nuts, again, calling him the P word, and, prominent accounts were he needs to be canceled for this, and, but there was actually the opposite reaction from some other prominent accounts too, that were saying chill, it wasn't that big of a deal, it wasn't he was vulgar, or he didn't say anything vulgar to her, or harass her or anything. He was just you look good and everything, and was talking to her, and then asked for her number and handed her his phone. And when he was oh, well, how old are you, by the way? She was oh, I'm 16. And he was oh boy, here we go. He's now I know, I guess when everything you do is streamed, you're going to get caught up in those moments. But, again, and people misconstrue what the P word means. It's meant for, what should we call it? Undeveloped, prepubescent is actually the language, kids, not for, adults or people who are developed, and everyone develops differently. You know what I'm saying? There's women in the quote unquote industry that look, disturbingly young, they're freaking 13 or 14 years old. Yet there's, 15 and 16-year-olds out there that look like, freaking 30, 40-year-old hags that look like they've been chain smoking cigarettes and living in the trailer park their whole life. So, you can never really tell on that, but, as far as like age goes and everything, and again, it's not like she's 17 years old, 11 months, 23 hours, and then, boom, on her 18th birthday, all of a sudden, like, she looks different, or, and same with these kids committing crimes and everything. Anyway, man, this is kind of like a side rant, but, on the age thing, it's up in the air. I mean, I kind of feel like, when you commit horrific crimes, even if you're young, I think there needs to be a cutoff there, though, and probably teenagers, but, like if a 6 or 7-year-old does something pretty crazy, I don't know if you can, like, set them up for the death penalty or life, based on that, but, I mean, what I really wanted to talk about, the meat and potatoes of this argument, is that, the dad was charged for supposedly, giving him the AR or something like that. And man, been this heartbreaking video that came out of him taking his son on his first hunt and everything. And I mean, this seems like an active dad, like, a father-son relationship. He was taking his kid hunting. He was active. He was involved in his life. And, some people you just can't help, But I said way back in the Crumbly incident, when that Crumbly kid did what he did and they put an arrest warrant out for his parents went on the run for a little bit. I was like, this is going to set a precedent and they're going to use this a lot, more often. And, this is what communist governments do. And I'm pretty sure I tweeted that out when the Crumbly thing happened. I was going to do a video on it. I don't think I ever ended up making a video on it. But yeah, I mean, I can't even remember where that was. I think it was Michigan. Maybe it was Colorado. But just look up the Crumbly case. You'll find it if you want to look into it. But at the time, I was like, this is communist tactics. This whole, like, we're going to charge other people involved when they're not involved. I mean, it's one thing if he's in text messages like, yeah, son, go take that, gun I gave you, which was for hunting, but go for some other purpose. Or, yeah, go do it. Go teach those kids a lesson or something. If they were saying that, then, yeah, they should be held accountable. But not just because they provided them a firearm. I mean, you know how many kids are out there going out there hunting with their dad or, whatever, just learning firearm safety and stuff like that. If they go home and he's teaching them how to, assemble and disassemble them and clean them and, all that, like that should be just regular, stuff. So, you can't help that. But, and what I was trying to talk about here is, I said before in one of my videos, man, like I can just get ranting and the time just goes. We're at freaking 9 minutes here, but, yeah, I mean, communist governments, North Korea, you speak out against the regime, you say some anti-regime talking points, and then, you lose your food stamps. Your whole family loses their food ration and starves for the winter because, you don't like the state. And that's basically what it's coming down to. And don't even think about running across the border, as if getting shot ain't bad enough. And I think there's even like a minefield there because it's not just North Korea and then a line and boom, South Korea. There's like a little independent zone in between it. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that's minefielded, but people don't care what happens to, to themselves. They'll be like, okay, they're like, yeah, I'm already in such a bad position. They're like, I have no job. The tyranny is out of control. We're pretty much, in famine. Our government has the boot on our neck. If it was just them and them alone, they would easily just say, I'm going to take my chance. I'm going to run across the minefield. If I get blown to bits or I catch a bullet, so be it. And communist governments ended up realizing that. And so what they use to further, suppress you from speaking out or doing anything is saying it's going to be your family who's accountable for your actions. And that's where they stop. They think twice then about crossing that border or talking bad about the regime, because they're like, there's that interview with that guy who's in South Korea now. And they did an interview. There's a couple of them. And they're like, what happened to your family? He's like, I have no contact. I don't know. But he's like, I know from other people that have, He was like, it's not good. And they're probably in a camp or something. But, that's pretty much how that goes. So, yeah, and then Freedom Inc. made another good point, in that video. He's like, how far are they going to take it? And they're going to use this in other ways. And he talked about, self-defense or something with your wife's gun. Someone breaks into the house, you grab your wife's pistol or something, or you don't even know it's your wife's pistol at the time. It's just the one that you keep in the drawer, or that, she happened to put next to the couch or whatever. And you grab it, you defend your household, and then, whatever stupid bullshit laws they're charging people with nowadays, all these infringements on the books, these lock 'em up laws or whatever they are, the Safe Storage Act, everything's got to be locked up. They're like, oh, well, it wasn't locked up. Did you go to, show us how it happened when they reenactment. So did you go to the safe and grab this and that? Oh, no, it was by the couch. Oh, well, you didn't lock it up. What about, they're doing, excessive force. Oh, you shot him 4 times, 5 times, whatever. You didn't have to do it like that. Well, you had to do it whatever way you had to do it, to protect your family. But then they're going to say, oh, yeah, you used excessive force, but it was really your wife's gun, so it's her fault too, because she left it unlocked by the couch, or your husband, or your, uncles, or whoever left it there. It's going to be their fault. And then they sue the manufacturer now. That's the other thing. I think they sued Beretta or Daniel Defense, one of these companies. This is the new way they're doing gun control, through these woke DAs, woke judges. And it's like, they're just charging everybody for anything. Pretty soon it's going to be anyone who knew you had a firearm and didn't report it, that allowed this thing to happen, they're guilty. And everyone's going away for, manslaughter or something. And then it's going to get political as well. I mean, especially with election season coming up. You're going to see these Rittenhouses. You're going to see the civil unrest. You're going to see people protecting their states, protecting their counties, protecting their neighborhoods. And some commies are probably going to get put down. And again, they're going to be like, whose weapon is it? Whose manufacturer was it? Who sold the bullets? Who did this? Who did that? And what about the lockdowns that we all know are, coming again? And they say, oh, no, you got to stay locked down and wait for us to come by with a safe and effective injection. And when they come by, you inject them with some freedom pellets. And again, they start, charging everybody for that. But, it just goes down the line, man. This is how they're going to start playing it. And, man, it amazes me how many people have jumped on the bandwagon and supported it. Big channels, Mr. Guns and Gear. I'm pretty sure it was Iraq Veteran and Black Scout Survival. They all did videos that were like, they knew about this kid. He was on the radar. That's always the term they use, on the radar. Well, don't you realize that you're probably on the radar? That they think, oh, but he was dangerous. They had to, surveil him. Don't you realize they think you're dangerous? You're the enemy. You're on the radar. So what exactly do you want them to do? It's almost like they're in favor of the police state. Like, what did you want them to do? Surveil him 24/7, break Fourth Amendment violations, and tap his phones and read his texts, read his emails, follow him to school every day, break into his locker, check his backpack. I mean, what? You know? And it comes down to basically dangerous freedom. You know, our founding fathers wanted the system of dangerous freedom over peaceful slavery. And people want the exact opposite now. And it's all about what would happen, right? You know, if Bob has an AK or an AR, you know, he might go into a school or a movie theater or whatever. Yeah, well, Mr. Johnson has one too. You know, Mr. Harrison has one. You know, or Mr. Peterson, the janitor. You know, whatever. And they're going to put the son of a bitch down. And Freedom Inc. made another good point there. We need to make a list of how many people not have died to quote-unquote gun violence, where there's no such thing, but how many people have died by following arbitrary laws because there's a sign out front that says you can't carry. Or, you know, oh, this state is a commie, gun-free state, gun-free zones. And how many people have followed that and then died by the hand of a criminal or some psycho who doesn't care? You know? And of course, they're pushing more gun control with this whole thing. You know, and they're saying, you know, oh, it's too many. And I can't remember the exact number, but there's like 800 or something mass events a year. And they don't talk about the ones that are gang shootings and stuff like that. And they act like it's so much. And I forget, the official number, but it's like 500 something from ARs or quote-unquote assault weapons. Yet you have, you know, like 100,000 Fenty ODs a year. You know, that's the equivalent to a football stadium. You know, look how much that is. You've got 50,000, 80,000 dying to car accidents. You've got, you know, cigarette and alcohol deaths in the hundreds of thousands. Yet they focus on these like 500, you know, events with ARs and stuff because it's all about control. It's about controlling the population and you not having the ability to govern yourself and hold these tyrants accountable. When tyrants tyrant, you have to hold them accountable. And that's what they don't want. They don't want you to have the ability to fight back when they put through the lockdowns or whatever they're planning to do. You know, keep you in your home, confiscate your property, steal your wealth, run your country into the ground, bring in invaders, you know, all of it. They don't want you to have the ability to defend yourself against that. So, I think that's where I'm going to leave it on this one. It's going to be dangerous freedom over peaceful slavery. And until the next one, you know what it is, man. We are on our own. No one's coming to save us. So get right with God, because only God can save you. Freedom Fighters out.